Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome to Elite Dangerous, and it's time for another ship review. Can you all guess which ship it's going to be? Yes indeed, it's the Fer-de-lance. What a great ship, a fantastic ship, a nice looking ship. Although look at that paint colour scheme. Reminds me of the Starsky and Hutch car. Is it the Ford's Torino? And for those who don't know who Starsky and Hutch are, well then that's the topic of another video, I'm sure. For those of you of the old guard who played the 1984 game, then you know. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, back to the Fer-de-lance. So we've parted with the cash, we've made the purchase. Let's take things out in its stock configuration to see how it performs. And then what we'll do, we'll get it back and rate it up with some different modules. So given its designation as a heavy fighter, the Fer-de-lance I think is quite functional, with nice streamlined lines inside the cockpit. You've got a second seat for that multi-crew position. Now if you haven't already done so, can you click the like and subscribe button and also the notification icon, as that will let you know when I'm putting more videos of Elite Dangerous on YouTube. And let's not forget what this is. This is a fighter. It's a two-man fighter, it's a big old fighter, it's a heavy fighter. The internal cockpit, I think, reflects this. I think it's designed really well for what the ship is. There's that elusive doorway leading to who knows what at the back of the ship. Lots of space in the back of that cockpit for other things. And it's long been alluded to, hasn't it? That, we're going to be able to walk around our ships. And I, for one, can't wait for this. So you've got lots of nondescript panels. And they're okay, we don't know what they are. It adds to the ambience of the cockpit. And you've got great visibility from what you'd expect as a fighter. Normal pips to weapons. And you can see the pulse lasers are firing. And eventually you can see the heat dissipate from the vents on top of the ship. I'm expecting now, yeah, there you go, you got sporadic laser fire. So you can fire with those pulse lasers for quite a duration of time, but let's face it, you're not just going to use those pulse lasers. Now that amount of heat, you're going to have to go packing with heat sinks. I think heat sinks on a ship like this are a must, just as if it is by putting weapons on. You're going to have a heat sink to dissipate all that heat. So we're at 244 meters per second. 4 pips of the engine, that goes up to 200, we're going to call it 265 by the look of it. With the boost, straight up at 256. That's not bad for something that's completely unengineered, and a nice sound as well. When you consider you can engineer the thrusters, engineer most things about the ship, this thing is ripe to be modified. Totally ripe to be modified. Boosting again. There you go, 356, I should say, meters per second. So a nippy old ship. And when you put some nice thrusters on it, reduce the weight, it's going to be a good ship to poke around in. So let's head on back to Jameson Memorial and modify this ship up. Let's look at the graphical iterations of the Fer-de-lance throughout the years. You can see from the wireframe and the more rendered textures of the ship, you can tell what it is. It has evolved quite a bit though, which I think is good, but as a Fer-de-lance, the shape hasn't changed that much. Hasn't changed that much at all. Still a good fighter. Okay then, so here we are, Jameson Memorial. Ah, well, there you go. Into outfitting. Let's see what we can do. Alright then, so look at that. Hard point, straight off the bat. What do you get given your pulse lasers? What more do you want? Well, you can do an awful lot more. Huge hard points, medium hard points. So 4 medium and 1 huge hard point there. So you can fit a variety of weapons for your choice. And of course, at this orbital station, you are spoilt for choice, and all modules are at 10% discount. Now if you haven't got access to the Founders system, get yourself over to an Alliance system. And he'll do you a deal over there. Yi Yong Ru, I think the guy's name is. Check him out. So pulse lasers, massive pulse lasers, they're pretty good for keeping on pressure and not dispersing too much heat. And if you've got the cash, then you can kit this ship out exactly how you want it, but it's gonna cost you. Look at that great big honking space gun. Look at that, and that's a pulse laser. You could fire all week with that, if that's all you had. But let's face it, with a fighter ship like that, you want to be aptly protected. Let's go to core internals. Of course, you can upgrade the skin of the ship and the armor, but let's stick a 6A power plant in there, taking it up to 25.2 megawatts. That's right, 25.2 megawatts. You're going to want a frame shift drive to increase it from the 6 light years up to 14.66 for a 4A frame shift drive. Completely unengineered, mind you, so you have to take that over to Felicity. Now that's 1.4 million here at Founders, so expect it to be a little bit more expensive wherever else you get it from. Now, that's one of the things. If you buy a ship like a Fer-de-lance, you haven't got enough money in the bank to kit it out, well, you're just going to be miserable. You're going to be really miserable. But you've got to keep an eye on that jump range. So, sensors. I tend to go for 4D sensors on my ships. Just a personal preference, really. The D-rated modules are lighter. Now, thrusters, I'm going to go for a 4D there as well. So my jump range is creeping up all the time. So, once we've got the thrusters installed, I did consider going for A-rated thrusters and see how fast this thing could go. And I might do that. I might do that in the future. But 4D is going to do me. So into optional internals, you want to maximise your cargo capacity because you're going to want to make a little bit of money with this anyway, aren't you? Even if you've got a bit of money to tempt those bounty hunters in or pirates in, and then you can give them the benefit of your lasers. Kitting it out with a decent shield generator as well. I mean, going for a 4A is going to give you the maximum amount of protection. I'm going for a standard shield generator, not a bi-weave or anything else like that. Now, I might be wrong. What's your opinions on the shield generators? Put it in the comments and let me know. I'm going to get a good stellar body scanner. I'm going to go for the advanced one. I've got the money, why not? 1.3 million. And let's maximise that cargo rack as it is. Typically as well, I'd probably put in a fuel scoop, I think, just to extend that range. You haven't got a huge fuel tank. You're not going to go bombing around the universe in a Fer-de-lance, or the galaxy in a Fer-de-lance. Let's be fair. What you're going to be doing is that you're going to be using it to do a specific job and bringing it to you. That's how I imagine it to be done. I'm not sure that jump range is going to increase much past 30 or 35. Just at a decent jump range, mind you. But, you know, it's going to take you too long to get anywhere with it. You'll bring your ship to you. You'll do what you got to do. And then you're going to go off somewhere in your Anaconda. Or you're going to go off in your Asp Explorer or your Diamondback and get from A to B really quickly. And then, should you be able to bring your ship to you. So I'm going for burst lasers, because they're up from the pulse lasers, and why not? The burst lasers, I think, are a decent mainstay weapon for this ship. And also, in the other medium slots, I love my multi-cannons. I'm going to go for multi-cannons on that. If you're firing with energy weapons, then a kinetic weapon is going to allow you to fire without increasing too much heat. That's my point of view anyway. You can always, if you're cooling down and the beam weapons that you're using, the pulse or whether they be beam lasers or whether they be burst lasers, and they're recharging, get the old multi-cannons out. You can still keep laying down the fire on your opponents while that's recharging or cooling down. And that's my methodology. What do you think? Stick it in the comments. I'd be interested to know what you think on that subject. So, we're pretty much kitted out on the hard points now. That seems fine to me. So utility mounts. Now, what are you going to do utility mount wise with this? You're going to need heatsink launchers, and a lot of people have more than one. Hey, and I'm fine by that. I'm just going to go for one for the time being. I'm going to kit it out with a wide variety of items. Chaff launchers. I use that an awful lot to disperse the lock of beam weapons on the ship. Not really for getting rid of missiles, but it can't help, can it? You know, it can't hurt. Also a kill warrant scanner. Get that extra bang for your buck when you're engaged in combat. I'm going to go, well, yes, I go for a D-rated one, but what's the point? I've got the many. Do I go for D or A? I'm going to go for an A-rated one. Why not? Why not indeed? Get that additional range. Get that quicker scan time as well when you're in combat. Moving on. Shield boosters. Always handy. Remember to turn these shield boosters off when your shield is recharging. You're taking a bit of damage. Your shields are recharged quicker. Then turn the shield booster back on. So you may want to map some sort of key combination to that. Now experimental. Xenoscanners. You might need to mix this up with some thargoids. Well, scanning it is going to get you that data. And then finally, what do I put in? What do I put in? I'll leave it. Right. Let's look at painting the ship. I haven't got many paint jobs for this. We've got the old Starsky and Hutch default scheme, but I do have Black Friday for all my ships. And that looks well stealthy. Look at that. Look at that. I still prefer, and this is one of the rare cases, I still prefer the stock colours of the ship, of the red and white. I think it looks sexy. Some of these paint packs, these are not something I'm going to be investing in with the real world dollar. The only one I really like, I think, is the Tactical Ice one. Which I think that looks nice. But not nice enough to part with ready cash with. You know what I mean? You know? And the other ones I think would be a bit too dark. So, I've got some weapon detailing mods. So I'm going to give it some pink weapons. That'll look quite nice, I think. And some engine detail. I've got cyan. And that's all I've got. I haven't got a ship kit for it, but there are ship kits available. And for the nameplates, well, you got to name it first. I think the Badger's Whiskers is an apt name for this, because this is a sexy looking ship. Applying a nameplate as well now. And we're nearly at the end, and we'll take this ship out and see what the modifications have done to it, especially around the weapons. It's not going to be a huge modification around the engines, because I've gone for D-rated engine modules. I've gone for the reduction of weight more than anything else. It does look nice in red, doesn't it? It really does. Though the black does look very clandestine, doesn't it, you know? Very stealthy. Great for being stealthy, not very good when you're doing your videos, and I've said that before. And as a content creator, which I think that's what I class myself as these days, that's what it's all about, really. So let's get out into the black and see what those modifications are doing for the ship. So here we are. We're outside the station limits. We can use guns and everything. Right, 4 pips to the engines. 249. You know, is what it is. Boosting. 235. That's a great sound of the engines, isn't it? Sort of like a warbling, throttling, throaty sound. I think it's a really nice sound. A really good sound as well, I think. You know, some of the best thing. The sounds of the engines of the ships are what you generally hear anyway, you know? I mean, that's the sound you're gonna be stuck with. So let's configure some fire groups. So, you know, we want beam weapons and then also kinetic weapons on a different firing mode, I think. So like trigger 1 for this, trigger 2 for the kinetic weapons. Also now I've got to select my scanners and how I want those and my different fire group. Having say a kill warrant scanner, and in the multi-cannons I can scan people, and then with the other trigger as well, while I'm scanning them I can lay down some fire. data links. And the chaff launcher I'll put on one as well. And then separately, I'm going to have... That's right, there we go. We're going to have a pulse laser on number 1 for the Xeno scanner, so I can scan that Thargoid and still thrash it with some beam weapons. That's obviously going to irritate it, but who cares? You know, I'm not here to make friends with the Thargoids. Now, here we go. Let's have a look outside. Let's get some weapons deployed as well. So, with 4 pips to the weapons, let's see how that's going to affect the firing. Now, we've got burst lasers and pulse lasers. One huge pulse laser. Here are the weapons. The bay doors are opening. Let's see how that's going to affect it. It does look aggressive with those bay doors open, I must say. I think it looks great. Absolutely great. So we're firing. Laying down that fire. Heat already not being our friend here with the heat pods opening on top of the ship. Still firing though. So heat sinks are going to be the mainstay of operating with this ship with the bigger weapons. Recovery rate though is quite good, and I'm quite happy with that. So that's been my look at the Fer-de-lance and kitting it out. I've been Ricardo, it's been Elite Dangerous. Check out the videos on the channel, there's an awful lot of videos and content there. Check out the Reboot and Restart season that comes out every Saturday at 6 PM GMT. Fly safe, see you soon.